Alright, this is Troy with Dream Car Custom. We've got a 2014 C7 Corvette that we're going to put our vertical door kit on. We just finished designing one for this, and it's similar to our C5, C6 design. A few things are different on it, but it's basically installs the same way. It's got the dual shocks, just like our C5, C6, but we will be showing you how to install it today. Again, good thing about ours is you only take off the door. You don't remove the fenders or the front clip, which the other kits you have to completely remove the fenders, the clip off the front to get them off, the fenders off. You don't do any cutting, modification in there at all. You get to use you will have to extend the wires about 9 inches, but you get to use the same wiring harness that goes in there. You just extend it out about 9 inches, and there's 21 wires in there, so that's probably one of the most time-consuming parts about it, just adding the extensions. But there is, like I said, no modifications whatsoever. You'll be able to get all the gaps perfect as they are. And first thing you want to do is pop the trunk, undo the battery. The battery's in the back here, underneath the right hand side, and just undo the negative side and leave it off while you're doing this so you won't run out of your battery. It's going to take you around 6 to 8 hours, because the wiring processes, that adds a couple hours in there. But the actual kit itself doesn't take that long to install. Very beautiful car, sharp looking, new design. And alright, when we get it done, we'll show you as we go. Alright, once you undo the wiring harness, the doors, to open them, you lose your electrical current. So the pull handle is right here beside the seat, so you just pull your little latch and the door will open up. Open it all the way out. A couple things you want to do. First off is undo your stop. It's a spring-loaded stop. This little rubber cushion boot comes out. It's just a filler, but you'll see there's a 10mm bolt here. Undo that, undo that off, and then hopefully you can see this inside here. Behind here is the wiring harness. Again, let me see if we can get that out of the way. You can see it's a plug back here, but pull the rubber boot off, and there's a little piece at the top you flip off, and this whole piece will come out. So we'll do that right now. Hard to see this, but anyways, there's a black cover. There's a black cover my fingers on. It goes over this, and this piece pops out, and then it reveals that harness. And it's plugged in. There's a piece in the top of right here you have to pop up. I have to get, usually I use a screwdriver to pop up, and that whole thing releases out. And I'll show you the door once I get it off. But I'll show you when I got the door off. You can see it better. Alright, I got this off. Like I said, this harness is in there like this, up inside there. The rubber boot's on top of it. You pull the rubber boot off first, and then this piece pops out. It's just a frame for the rubber boot, and then this is left in there. Now as it's left in there, you'll see this. You just take a screwdriver and get it, and pops this out, and when you pop that back, it pushes this whole thing out like that, and then you pull it off. It's not hard once you do it. So once you lay it down, do the nuts and the bolts out. Take the bottom two out first. Take this one out, and then hold the door, and then take that one out. Move the door off and put it into your stand or wherever you're going to put the door. Alright, got the door off, and you can see the plug-in where the harness plugs in at. But anyways, go ahead and pull these two off, top and bottom. Just wipe down your area real good. You won't need to do anything else in there. Show you what we got on the door. Make sure you got a good stand or something. You put the door on where it's face up, because you'll be using it like this to put the kit on. First thing I want to do is take this, and you won't remove this. All you have to do is hit it with a rubber hammer or something. Just hit it a couple times and it'll go in. You want to go in just like if the door was shut. It'll be flush in. Give me that rubber mallet over there. Go over there and hold it back there. Just one time. See how it goes? And it'll just, it'll stay there. It'll be completely out of the way. So, you won't have to remove it and take it out because that thing's a bear to get in and out. Anyways, it's good. It's out of the way right there. Alright, we got on the kit, you'll have 4 shocks. And what you want to do is, you know, the shocks that go small end up and big end. And they'll be, once it's on the car, and you'll put these on, I'll show you that in a minute, but just to give you an idea. This is how they go. And when you put the little lock nut, the half little lock nuts on there, and tighten it all the way up to the touch, they'll back off just a quarter turn. They have got to be able to rotate a little bit. You can't be super tight because when they rotate in, this moves. Even though it's synchronized, it'll move just a little bit, so it'll snap the heads off if you don't. Same thing at the bottom. Tighten up till it touches, back off a quarter turn. Can't be tight. So and we're fixing to do that. We're gonna put the base plate this is the door plate. This bolts to the door. We'll be doing that in a minute. And this is the base plate. This goes to the car, and we're fixing to put that on there. You use your factory bolts that come off the car, which we'll reuse those. We're going to center it up, lock it down, gives us a good starting point. You can kind of look at your hinges that come off there, get an idea where it was, and kind of go from that, because these are the factory holes, just like what comes off your hinges right now. So we'll do that in just a second. Okay. All right, I put it in here, just loosely put it in here, just snug them up, kind of get it where they're snug. Your old nuts are going to have a little bit of, the bolt heads aren't going to be that pretty, but you can take and after you're done and paint them, put a little, get your brush, put a little paint on top of them, but we'll put all these in, and then we're going to move it around and center it up. You got plenty of adjustment forward to back and at vertical and horizontal, so we'll get it centered and then we'll go from there. Okay. All right, now we're going to put the door part of the hinge onto the door, but first, before you do any of that, you have to undo these wiring, pull this wiring out, and it's I can go ahead and show you, but anyways, you want to pull the wiring out of here, and you want to add in 9 inches of wire. So I'm not 100% sure if we're going to provide the wiring, or if not, wiring's cheap. You can get wiring through your local. Just match the wiring thicknesses. We've already done this door and put it back together. You can see where we did the wiring. Each one of them, make sure you solder it in. Do not, I repeat, do not try to put those connectors on it. It'll be a big mass of them. And I think we've got 21 wires, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. 21 wires here. So again, match your wire up with the same gauge. You don't want a real thick wire with a small wire. Make sure you match your gauges up good. And I think there's 2 to 3 different gauges in here. There's only 2 big wires in here that we had to use some pretty thick wiring on, but the rest of them are just small wires. It's easy, just match up. The wiring's not that big a thing, it's just time consuming. And it goes up in here too. You can see how far up it went. So we're going to bring it back out. We got a boot that we're going to go over. We got an extra boot off of a I'll tell you that later. I can't remember the other boot we got, and split it, and it's going to go over there. It looks just like this. This is the factory one. That, as you can see, we had to split it here because it's going to be longer. You need more wiring. So it'll have an extended boot looking piece on here. All right, we got this done. We got that done. I'm going to wrap them up a little bit better with tape. Put them back in there. Put this back in there, and I'll put my kit on. Alright, when you're taping these, you're going to want to put them tight, but don't. Reason being, when you tape it up and you put it snug, when that wire is in here and it wants to curl in behind the kit when the door comes down. It's so tight it don't want to bind. It don't want to bend and go in there. So you have to do it loose. That's why this looks loose. You want to make sure that the wiring is just loosely put on there. You just want to hold them together. You don't want to snug it up, put it tight. So the wiring can bend. If you don't, this wire will not bend. It'll be just too tight. Okay, I provide you with 8 bolts and washers, and what you'll use the bolts and washers on is the door part that goes in here. We'll start. Just make sure that the bottom part of the kit right here, this one, you have to put that in first before you put it on the door, because it's hard to get to once you put it on the door. That has to be in there first before you slide it up, and then just put the rest. And again, you want to center this up. Grab those. Bring the seat away. And you see the wiring as we got the wire. It's just sticking out right now. We'll make it look nice when we get the car finished. But we added 9 inches of extra to it, and so it's plenty long enough now. So now we'll put this kit on. We're going to stick this up here, and it goes like this. The flat side goes up toward the door panel. The swivel part goes down, and you'll see it'll fit in just like this. And Henry, put that bolt through there. Got that one started? Okay. And then put this one over here, if you can get to it. It's hard to do holding this darn camera. Anyways, I'm gonna put this down, but we'll do this and I'll show you in a minute. All right, you can see I stuck it on here. Now, a couple things you want to make sure you do when you're centering this up. You kind of center up the bolt holes about the same. You know, you want to get them. Turn on the light here, if you can see. You want to get them in the center best as you can, and same thing on the back. But you'll notice that you'll have it pretty flush up here with the door. That's a good starting point. We found out in the back here will be down just a little bit. That's a good starting point. And up, you want to make sure that that this is almost all the way up touching, but back down a little bit where you see there's a little gap in between here. This can't be touching the door, because when you lift up on it, it'll hit and it'll scar your door. So you can't have that. So it's got to be down enough where this will clear when the swings out. The door swings up and all, because this is stationary. The door actually is what swings up. So we're going to make sure that we grease this real good, this shaft here, when it goes in the other part, and we're going to put the door on, and we're going to make sure now your shocks. When you put the shocks on, you will see that this is super tight right here. All right, so this is what I recommend. There's several ways you can do it. You go ahead and adjust the door without the shocks on. We put this on there just like this. Do it a couple of times, get everything just adjusted out. Then I'm gonna pull the door back off. I know that sounds like a lot of work, but it's not. It's just one bolt. I mean, this pops right out. Pull the door back off, and I put the shocks on out here. I'll slip them on. Give me one of those shocks over there. So much easier out here to put them on. You'll kind of maneuver it in here, slip it underneath there. Slip it on like that. Couldn't see holding the camera. And then slip it over the other end. And then tighten the nuts up. It's so much easier doing out here than underneath the car there, because that's a tight fit there. So then you put the door back on, you'll go. Most of the time you won't have to do any adjustment, but sometimes the shocks, they're 200 pounds a piece, 400 pounds per, so it could tweak it a little bit. You may have to do a slight bit of adjustment. If you do, you can leave the shocks on the door. You can actually pull the door off and on with the shocks still on there. So once you put the shocks on, you want to take those back off, and we'll show you that. But that's what we do. But I would do the first initial adjustments without the shocks on there. It makes it so much easier. One more thing too that you want to be aware of. This little fin here, see this little fin? See how it's recessed in a little bit? These things, the shock, when it comes in, it will sometimes hit. Depends on the adjustment that you have. So what we did, so it won't hit and do any damage, we go ahead and recess that in a little bit. And as you can see, it's not a lot. It's probably, I don't know, just you can lay a shock up there and just see that it goes in a little bit. So take some kind of little grinder and just take that little, recess it down just a little bit so it won't hit your, press on your shock. You don't want to do any damage to your shock before you go. And that's the only thing you do right there, that little piece. Alright, another thing that'll help you pull the door on and off too, up here in this little piece right here, this is the bracket that holds the top of the fender on. This little piece here hangs down for some reason, so I took and just grind it up a little bit. It's fiberglass, a little fiberglass piece, just tan a little bit, so when it sits in the kit, the adjustment nut will catch this on the way up, and then you have to lift it over real far to miss it. So this way it slips in there and it gets easier to get the door on and off. So anyways, just trim that, don't take off much, and you might not even have to. If you want to put it in there, try it. You might not nick it, but we were hitting it and it was giving us a fit, so I'm going to just take a little bit off that right there. All your brace is still there, the big brace behind it, it's just a little bitty piece underneath it, so it's all fine. Alright, we're fixing to put the door on. We press set it to center spot, so I'm going to bring it over. I'm going to leave this the camera on the table so you can kind of see us putting it on, bolting the two pieces together. Here we go. Slide this down. It should be about that 45-degree angle or so, and we want to make sure this is greased real good, this piece here, and I'm going to slip it through the big main plate. You got it in there. Slip it in an angle, let it get in the hole, twist the door down, slightly push forward, and it should drop in place. There we go, all the way down. See, this is just as simple as it is connecting the two. It's not very hard right there. And what I'm going to do is let the door down and see what adjustments we need to make. But he holds the door up, and you got to make sure you're real careful letting this door down. Make sure all this doesn't touch. You don't want to chip anything. Alright, now go ahead, and we got the door on, as you can see. Alright, Henry, shut the door. Slide it too. Now you want to watch a couple of spots here, especially down here at the bottom. See, it's a pretty close gap there. You want to make sure. What I do is hold it right there.
It's behind you.
I get a thin piece of paper, and I want to make sure. Open it back up here. All right, I want to make sure I can see where it's not going to hit as he goes. But I always like running paper through here, you know, like that as he shuts it. Go ahead and Henry, shut it till it goes, you know, all that. Now the camera's not focusing, but anyways, you can see the gaps until it clears, and you want to make sure all the gaps are clear. Now, that gap's a little bit too big. Go ahead and shut it, Henry. That gap's a little bit too big. Everything else is good. The height, you want to make sure they get enough down here at the bottom, which I do. The door slightly inset, that's what you want. You don't want the door outside the fender. You want the door inside the fender slightly, because air goes over it and you don't want it to catch in there and start whistling. So I need to bring the door forward just a teeny bit, and there's a little bigger gap at the top than at the bottom, so I'm going to bring the top in a little bit, plus open the door, Henry, in the back. Okay, when he brings that in, go bring it in to shut it almost, but do it so it catches there, Henry. See, it's down a little low, isn't it? Huh?
Yeah, it's just down a little bit.
Okay, so the door needs to come up, so you bring the top of the kit forward, and that brings the door up. So we got to get that door up. We want to make sure it's just like factory. When you push that door to it, clicks in, just with no resistance whatsoever. So that's why there's such a gap at the top and not at the bottom, because the door in the back is dragging down a little bit. So we'll pull this back off, move the base kit top of it forward just a little bit, and I'll show you how to do that. And then while I've got it off, I'm going to put the shocks on this next time, then try it that way. We should be real close. Alright. Alright, now we're going to pull it back off so you can see. Henry's going to lift it up. Now pulling it back off, you do the same thing you did when you put it in. You just grab it here. He's got I'm gonna lift up on it easy. Don't yank it up hard or you'll hit, you know, you'll do the thing and hit the top of the fender. So I'm gonna pull it up a little bit, I'll wiggle a little bit, pull it up, pull it back a little bit, pull up a little more, pull back a little bit, pull up a little more, and then it comes right out. Turn it over, put it back on your rack. Now, as I said, this top part of the kit needs to go in toward the front of the car just a little bit, maybe a 1/16 of an inch. When you do little increasements here, that makes the back of the door a lot. So you do a little bitty adjustment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take in this bottom bolt here. I'm going to loosen the bottom. I'm going to loosen that up. Very bottom. I'm going to loosen that up. This one here, I'm going to leave it snug. I may loosen up a little bit. I'll completely loosen the bottom one up. Leave that one pretty tight. Not all the way tight, pretty tight. Completely loosen up this one. Completely loosen up this one. That way it's not going to, kit's not going to drop straight down or move around, and I can take and tap it and it'll move. Now see, I'm going to draw me a line. You can't see that hard. There it is. I'm going to draw me a line, and that way I can get an idea how far I'm moving it back. And I just want to go a 1/16 of an inch. So I'm going to do that again. Again, loosen up these completely and keep this one here. You want this one because it's more centered over the swivel, and you won't change any of the adjustments. So I'm going to do that. And the opposite. Say your gap was too tight at the top and your bottom was too big. Well, you do the same thing. You would leave this one tight, loosen that one up, and then you would loosen both these up and tap the bottom forward. That brings the door down if the door was too high in the back. So you get the idea. And then, you know, if you gap, you need to slide it forward or back to make it up the gap. We still may need to do that again, or completely bring the door up and down. If you want to, you can bring the door up and down here, or you can do it on the door itself over there. You can move the door up and down over there on the kit that bolts to the door. All right, now we're back on the door. This I did the piece. What I was telling you, that we moved the top piece back toward the front of the car just a little bit, and I brought the back of the door up, so that should be good. Now, a while ago we moved this, and I didn't tell you about it, but I'm going to tell you about it now. We moved the door was 2 inset. This part was 2 inset, so we had to bring this kit up a little bit to bring the door out a little bit. So we loosened it up just like before, kept this one snug, took that and loosened that up a lot, and both these a lot, and I just moved it up a little bit. I marked it so I could see, and I moved it up, tightened it all back down. So all that should be good. So we should be good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and put on my shocks too, lift supports. I got to get those on there. All right, we've got the lift supports here. We put the big in. It's going to go down and underneath there, and you want to put it, there's one underneath here, you slip it in there. Ain't much room in between there. So you'll see this shock kit's slightly bent. So if you try one way and you can't get it on there, which I couldn't a while ago, I was wondering what was going on, but I realized, well, sometimes at a factory these little heads come up crooked a little bit. So just spin it over and then it'll go on. So you can see I slipped it right on from there. So slipped it on there. I'm going to slip it on right here on the swivel part, and I'll put the little nuts on. So do the inner one first before you do that, or you'll never get the inner one done. So do that one first. Okay. All right, I got the one on the inside too. Now these are 9/16 nuts. The nuts. The bolts for the Corvette are 13 millimeter, but we use bigger studs on the shocks. There's 9/16. Now what you do is I took a regular 9/16, ground it down in half, so it fits up in here so much easier tightening this stuff up. It slips right in. So, you know, take a $3 wrench and grind it down, and it works real well for tightening it up. So again, I'm going to do this until it touches. All right, right there, and I'll back off about a quarter turn. About a quarter turn. You make sure that you can move it a little bit. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the top one. Okay. Okay, we just put it on. We just put it on and shut the door. The back, we didn't raise it up quite enough. It's still down a little bit. and I'm still not happy with the gaps. You'll see these gaps, I mean, they're looking better. We'll close them up a little bit more, but compared to reason why we do one door at a time, because it gives you something from the factory to look at, and you can see how tight those gaps are. Much tighter, so we can get that. We just got to keep working with it. The factory, when it comes to the factory, the back door gap is narrower than the, you know, it's not much gap there, and then there's a bigger gap up here, so that's what we want. You're not going to be able to get them equal. I mean, that almost hits from the factory. When the factory, you open the door now, it almost hits. So you'll see, you'll have a little smaller gap in the back and a little bigger gap in the front. Now that's what it comes from factory. This door hasn't been touched, so we're going to go over here and get this side done. And again, you can see it's a little bit off, and a lot, but it's a little bit, and we want to get it perfect. So you'll see the gap there, and it's too tight there. Ain't much of a gap at all there. So we'll take this off. We'll move the whole plate a little bit. You know, the bottom's closed, the top's a little off. We're going to move it both forward, maybe a little bit more on the top than the bottom. Move it forward and give it another try. Like I said, open that, pop the door open, Henry. When you pop the door, now rock it back and forth like you're trying to shut it in your seat, not till it point shuts. And you can see it hits. See it going up and down, see how it's hitting there? That means the door's got to come up, so that shouldn't be hit. That means the front of the kit, the top part of the kit's got to go toward the front of the car. That'll tilt the door, back of the door up, and that's what we want. That'll close a lot of that gap too, so we may just do that instead of moving the whole plate forward. Alright, before we do that though, adjust that. I do want to put on the big nut. There's a big nut, I just stuck it up in there if you can see from my hand. You want to put the nut on that comes with it and tighten that up, tighten until it stops and back off a quarter turn. That may straighten it up. You want to check that first before you do any adjustments, final adjustments. So we're going to do that. We're going to tighten it up and see if that changes anything.
From here.
I don't know if you can hear me, there's a train going by, but anyways, I'm going to take and it's a, you know, it's 3/4 inch socket. I'm going to stick it up underneath there, put it over my big nut like that, and tighten it up with my ratchet until it touches, and then back off a quarter turn. That might straighten it up. We'll see. Always, before you do the final adjustment, always put that big nut on there, tighten it up. That'll straighten everything up sometimes. You don't want to get everything you think perfect and then put the nut on there and find out, uh-oh, it's off a little bit. So do that before you do your final adjustment. You know, I put tape down here, reason being is I want to make sure that the bottom, when it comes down, the bottom corner right here, when it comes down, it'll get close to that and it'll touch. If it touches, okay, as long as it don't tear the tape, then you know you're still good. But yeah, well, you just got to do the wire. Don't do your wiring up until you've completely done all the adjustment. And as you're shutting the door, make sure you push that up in there so it won't get caught up in anything. There's also adjustment in here, and you can probably, let me turn the light on. Right here my finger is, there's a little adjustment. Allen head, 6mm. You can turn in there and twist it, and it shuts the door, opens it a little bit. You got about several inches of adjustment so you can get both doors perfectly aligned right. How far out they go, each one. Alright, we're going to pull the door back off there, loosen this up, move this top piece in just a teeny bit, just a fraction, and then, you know, that'll be fine. Just want to make sure we get the door wheel open out far enough. For that, I want you to make sure that you have your adjustment thing I was talking about a while ago in here. That, let me turn my light on. Adjustment all the way out so the door is open up so you can pull it in and out. Anytime you pull a door in and out, you have to have this adjustment pulled all the way out. A hit in there won't let the door come out. So make sure you have that. Alright, we just got it back on here now. As you can see, the gaps are almost perfect from what they were on the other side. Now, you want to make sure when you do this that the door is slightly inside the fender, just teeny bit, slightly inside. And you can see, I mean, there ain't much of a gap there. It's just hard. I don't know why Chevrolet put the gap so tight on these things, but I still have the battery undone, so I have to open it up inside. Yeah, get it and raise it up, Henry. Okay. Let me see. You have to be careful when you adjust it, where it depends on how you adjust it and set it. There's going to be a point. You can see there's not much of a gap there, but there is a gap. So you're going to have to, the set adjustment little screw that I was been talking about right here, that allows the door to come out to a stopping point. We have it stopped there because down at the bottom it almost touches when it's all the way out. So you're limited on where you can bring it out to. So you have to make sure that you use that stop so the door won't come out too far and hit your fender when it's down. Go ahead and go down here. Slips in. Go ahead and push it to slowly, slowly, slowly. All right, go back out. I'm sorry. Go back out and you see right up in here. It's real close underneath there, but there is a gap. And everywhere else ain't too bad. Go ahead and close it. And you can see, I mean, it closes just as smooth as it does from the factory. So when you're pushing it to, just keep just a teeny bit of pressure on it when you're pushing it to, so you make sure the shock won't want to kick it up a little bit. All right. Open it up again, Henry. See it lifts right up. Okay. All right, we're gonna get to work on the other side. All right, we just got it done.
Push the trunk down.
It's okay. Okay, on the boots, we did half the boot, cut the end off. Then we got another boot from another car, and I'll have to put on there and find out. I can't remember what it came off of, but anyways, got another boot, ran it in, so we just tied them in together. Also on the wires, when you're doing the wires, it's best to wire tie the shock, the thing to the shock, to keep it up out of the way so it won't get down in the locking channel. So just, if you got a little excess, just wire tie it to your shock. That'll keep it up out of the way. When it comes down, it won't get caught in there. You got to make sure you don't bind up in there, so just wire tie it up. Well, we've completed it, and this is with the door shut. You see the gaps are just like they were from the factory. Nothing on the frame. We didn't have to remove the fenders or anything. You just took off the doors. Alright, sweet. Alright, 2014 C7 Corvette Vertical Door Kit, Dream Car Custom. Got any questions, give me a call, 912-661-4275. Thank you.